Coming up on this episode of the IoT Inc. Business Show.
And they found that a particular turbine was reading 50 degrees Fahrenheit higher than historic level. The following weekend, the station was conducted. They said, let's do some boroscopy exam of the burners and so on. No issues were found. And, our customer could have said, the manager could have said, you know what, it's a fake, don't worry, just ignore it. But instead, our customer in Duke, they said, you know what, maybe there's something going on. So they scheduled a maintenance and they found, you know what, there is a problem. And they did the service, but because of that, the estimated avoided cost was $500,000 just for this one particular turbine and so on, right? And overall, they found that they were able to save $5 million.
Schneider has seen the IoT light and they're following it at scale. Step 1, make all products connected. Step 2, develop a platform, in this case for the energy management and automation vertical. Step 3, create more customer value by moving from products and services to ultimately driving customer results. In this episode of the IoT Business Show, I speak with Prith Banerjee about the IoT Playbook to be followed by all leading-edge companies, big and small.
All this and more on this episode of the IoT Inc. Business Show. The people, the business, and the technology of the next generation internet. This is the IoT Inc. Business Show. And now, here's your host, Bruce Sinclair.
Hello and welcome to the IoT Inc. Business Show. This show is made possible by sales of my book, IoT Inc., published by McGraw-Hill, and the IoT Inc. Certified IoT Professional, or ICIP, online training and certification program. Become a certified IoT professional by completing the program's 3 courses: ICIP Technology, ICIP Business, and ICIP Strategy and Digital Transformation. Details of which can be found at www.iot-inc.com. That's www.iot-inc.com.
With me today is Prith Banerjee. Prith is EVP and CTO of Schneider Electric, reporting to the CEO. In this role, he is responsible for driving innovation and tech differentiation and coordinating R&D activities of the company's 5 businesses with 11,000 R&D personnel and a 1.2 billion euro R&D investment. Previously, he was managing director of global research and development at Accenture. I met Prith for the first time when he was at Accenture. He keynoted at the IPv6 IoT conference I used to put on. Prith, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bruce. Good to be here.
So what type of IoT activity have you been working on lately?
So as you mentioned, Schneider Electric is a very big global company. We specialize in energy management and automation.
Okay.
As you mentioned, we are a 27 billion euro company with about 170,000 employees worldwide. We have a lot of products in energy management and automation, and our vision through IoT is to connect up all our products and to ultimately drive customer outcomes in the area of energy management and automation. Some of the products that we have include low voltage products that we use in buildings. So low voltage includes sort of contactors, plugs, switches, panels, circuit breakers, and so on. Medium voltage products like switchgear, transformers, substations, which run all the way from 1,000 volts to 36,000 kilovolts. Then we have industrial automation systems in different verticals like oil and gas and mining, metals, water, etc. And finally, we have a fairly big data center business, essentially powering our data centers, power cooling of data centers. So we have a lot of products. In fact, we are about to launch, I think, more than 365 new products this year itself. And our vision is it will be all IoT enabled, because we believe that our customers would greatly benefit from connectivity of these products and solutions.
So are you saying that the 365 new products that are being launched this year will be IoT-based products?
Not all of them will be, but a very significant number of them. And our vision is we will have literally millions and millions of our products that we have in front of customers, all connected to IoT. We have an IoT platform running on the cloud, and we will make sure eventually all our products are connected to the cloud.
Wow. Well, why don't we start? I mean, I gave a little bit of an intro, but why don't you start by telling me a little bit about yourself and your background in IoT?
Absolutely. So I started actually my career in academia. I spent about 22 years in academia at the University of Illinois, Northwestern, and other places. But then I started work in IoT when I joined Hewlett-Packard. I was head of HP Labs, and at HP Labs, we had a very exciting research project on the SENSE project called the Central Nervous System for the Earth, and we did a lot of very interesting work around sensors, connectivity, analytics, software, and so on. Then I from HP, I went to ABB. I was Chief Technology Officer of ABB, and again, ABB was in a very similar area as Schneider Electric. They were in the power and automation area, and again, at ABB, I drove a lot of work around IoT and remote services and connectivity. Then I joined Accenture, and Accenture, which is a very big sort of consulting company, I drove a lot of work around IoT at Accenture. In fact, we started an IoT business in my 2 years. That was a very, very exciting work I was involved with some of the IoT activities in our Accenture Technology Labs, which ultimately went into our Accenture Digital business. And Accenture now has a very big IoT business. And then while at Accenture, I was part of some thought leaderships. We presented some work at the World Economic Forum around how IoT has a very interesting, exciting way to change customer outcomes. And now that I work at Schneider Electric, we are using some of those, the general things that I talked about at Accenture. I'm actually helping take it to market. So essentially in the energy management and automation space, we are trying to see how through all the connectivity, we can drive it to end customer outcomes, right? How customers' lives will be impacted through more productivity, more remote services, maintenance, and so on, but essentially driving the business value for our customers.
Well, I mean, we met when you were at Accenture, and quite frankly, it seemed like you had a pretty good gig there. I mean, moving over to Schneider, was it that you just wanted to take it the next step and productize, or what was the big motivations for you to move over?
Again, yes, I was very, very happy at Accenture, doing wonderful things, but I was responsible for only the R&D at Accenture.
Right.
I was running a smaller operation. At Schneider, my responsibility, I'm the group CTO for the entire company. I'm responsible for how we do our sort of technology strategy for the company across the 5 businesses, how we invest our 1.3 billion euro in the right things for the company, and leading a group of 12,000 R&D engineers. So it's a much bigger role that I have, and being part of a product company is quite exciting.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a bigger swing and roll. Now, I looked quickly at the Schneider website, and I noticed that IoT is just one of 13 solution sets that Schneider provides. Now, what's the relative importance of IoT? I mean, we've been speaking IoT, but is this a small thing? Is this a big transformational thing? How important is IoT to Schneider?
IoT is the biggest thing that's going to happen. That is happening in terms of connectivity and sort of business model changes at Schneider. So, yeah, the website is a little outdated, but basically we are putting our biggest bet in terms of IoT. I think this is something that I want to kind of share with you, is that we recently took a survey of our about 2,600 customers and across 12 countries, and these are the top business decision makers, and we asked them, say, what do you think are the changes? How can we help you? So these are our customers, 2,600 of our customers, and we asked them a lot of questions and saying, hey, you know Schneider, you know our sort of products and solutions in the energy management automation area. What are your most important things? And 75% of our interviewees felt that IoT would create really new business opportunities for them in the near future. And then when we asked them, so why are you interested in IoT, right? These are our customers telling us that cost savings was the most likely reason for implementing IoT. So our customers are talking about IoT, but basically IoT is not really a vision or it's going to happen in the future. This is IoT is here now, right? And so they are currently using some of the IoT solutions that Schneider is providing. And our customers felt that the estimated savings from implementing IoT are large, right? Yielding a more than like 50% return of investment. So they were very, very clear. We asked them how much, right? Is it 10%, 20%, 30%? They basically said about 50% ROI in areas such as faster problem resolution, improved productivity, higher levels of operational efficiency, and so on. So this is a big deal for our customers, and therefore we at Schneider feel very, very excited about it. And we are essentially we have, as you said, our 5 businesses, our business around buildings, our buildings business, our partner business, which is the business that we do around residential buildings, commercial buildings, critical infrastructure building. That's 40% of our business. IoT is going to be a big, big deal for that buildings business. So when we are in the buildings business, we do sort of metering, electrical distribution of the building, right? Solar power on top of the building, residential, and so on. All of those things will be connected through IoT. And so our building management systems, which runs our HVAC, cooling, sort of operational efficiency of the building, completely will be changed. So building management systems completely will be changed through IoT. The next thing, as I said, is our industry, our energy business, our medium voltage business. This is where we work with utilities and smart grid, and utilities are sort of talking about, well, renewables is going to be a very big deal in the future. So as you have in the past, power generation happened through, well, either through nuclear or hydroelectric and so on. So these were very steady power sources. But as the world is moving towards more renewables through solar and wind and so on, right, these renewable energy sources are a lot more intermittent. And so we are coming up with IoT-based solutions in the area of microgrids, right? You have renewable energy things, you have intermittent power generation. So how do you work with utilities in terms of smart grid solutions? So we have a lot of very interesting software assets or what we call advanced distributed management systems, ADMS systems, again, powered by IoT, that will help our utilities to do better match our demand response or demand with supply, right? So that they don't have to invest a lot in terms of power plants. They can do very smart demand response and sort of supply management using, again, IoT, right? And so that's a very, very big deal. Then in our industry business, as I said, we have different solutions in electro-intensive businesses like oil and gas, like mining metals and so on. As we talk to these oil and gas customers, in fact, this week I was in Houston talking to many of the oil and gas customers like ExxonMobil and BP and some of the oil sort of services companies like Halliburton and Schlumberger. Again, all of those companies are looking for IoT-enabled solutions so that they can drive much better operational efficiency and so on. Some of Schneider's solutions, again, enabled by IoT, will allow them, mining companies, oil and gas companies, water companies, and so on, to get much better efficiencies. And finally, as I said, in the area of data centers, you talk about the largest data centers in the world, from Amazon, Google, Facebook, Microsoft, right? These data centers consume sort of 50, 100, 200 megawatts of power. So how do you come up with a good power distribution system so that you can reduce the power consumption, again, through IoT? So very, very big opportunities that you can see today.
Yeah, no, I think the survey results are very interesting. I'm surprised, quite frankly, that 75% actually are keying onto IoT today. What I'm not surprised about, though, is that they're keying into operational efficiency and cost savings. At least in my experience, that seems to be the thin edge of the wedge. people can get their arms around efficiency. Maybe operational efficiencies has slowed down in the last few years, looking for a way to squeeze out a little bit more out of their current businesses. But I'd like to ask you, your opinion on the evolution from bottom line efficiency to top line growth. So, what we've been speaking about to this point, and I think it makes sense, right? Because this is where perhaps the current knowledge is about IoT has been in operational efficiency. But what are your thoughts on growing and creating new businesses for your customers? I mean, providing products that allow them to increase their revenue as opposed to be more efficient.
That is exactly the point. So basically, let me now go deeper into the survey. So basically, we asked this in our survey. We asked them for what are you using IoT in terms of the immediate sort of savings and so on. And as I said, 70% of them said in different areas that we serve. For example, in the area of industrial automation, building automation, energy management, remote monitoring, management, etc. Right? They basically said 70% of those people surveyed said that there is a tremendous priority for IoT in these areas. But then sort of asking them specifically about areas, right? So 40% of them said in terms of faster problem resolution, 39% said in terms of improved productivity, 39% higher levels of operational efficiency. But that's now, right? But then we kind of ask them, okay, so what is the future, right? And so what we are doing is, as you said, Bruce, right? So the immediate solutions are with respect to these sort of faster problem resolutions and remote management, remote monitoring, and so on, right? These are the here and now kind of solutions. But what we are investing in the future is our end customer outcomes, right? The top line growth, the newer business opportunities. So the analogy that I would like to draw is look at the sort of the iOS platform from Apple, right? Or the Android platform, right? Once you have a platform, you can enable other people, right? Those millions of app developers on iOS platform that are creating all these very interesting sort of solutions and services on top of the iOS platform. We believe that what Schneider is creating through our IoT platform, which we call it as a digital services platform. So we have an IoT platform with all these millions of connected products, right? All these connected products, the data will be uploaded to this IoT platform. Now, just imagine, sort of think of it as a iOS platform, right? Sure. Now, this will make this data available, right? Through the right APIs, developers throughout the world can tap into the data on this IoT platform and create all new interesting sort of services, right? And so when I was in Dubai, I gave an IoT World Forum talk, and I kind of talked about the different ways that we can help drive sort of top-line revenue in different domains, right? So in the area of energy, so we kind of talk about 4 areas where you can see drive top-line growth. One in the area of sort of energy management and sustainability. Second one in terms of sort of more operational sort of asset management and so on. So essentially, you have a bunch of assets, how we can drive top-line assets, so revenue through asset management. Second one is through smart, productive sort of operations. And again, it's tied to starting with operational efficiency, but how we can drive top-line growth through that. And ultimately, so the last one is about sort of using augmented reality and so on and so forth. Once you have all these connected things, what kind of new services can you drive? So those are the 4 areas that we see in terms of energy management, asset optimization, sort of smart operations, and sort of these interactive sort of simulation-based sort of insights and augmented reality and so on. So tremendous opportunities for top-line growth and ultimate customer outcomes. So a very simple example, right? So when you look at a tractor company like say John Deere or Caterpillar, right? In the past they sold tractors, but now these tractors are getting more IoT enabled, and therefore with that tractor, suppose I can connect all the data that those tractors are connecting through the weather reports, and eventually can I provide farming as a service. So just like tractors, instead of selling tractors, that product to a farmer, instead of selling the tractor, if you can provide farming as a service, that would be a very interesting top-line revenue thing, right? Think about that in the agriculture industry. What we are essentially designing for the future is we are in the energy management automation business, right? So rather than sort of selling a smart panel for $1,000 to a building manager, right? Imagine the sort of transforming to a building management as a service, right? So suppose you are the Hilton Hotel, right? And again, we sell a lot of our parts to Hilton Hotels. But what does the building manager of a Hilton Hotel ask for, right? He is interested in providing a fantastic sort of an experience, right? Really good air quality, really fantastic experience to all the people who are staying in the hotels. And they're interested in reducing the energy consumption, right? CO2 emissions. So if you are a hotel owner, right, a building manager, you are interested in this top line stuff, right? Improved air quality, improved efficiency, etc., right? And so not the fact that you want to buy $1,000 smart panel, right? Or that thermostat. You are trying to go for that ultimate building management efficiency and improved air quality and so on. That's the kind of service that we are essentially positioning Schneider to go to, right? So essentially providing sort of building management as a service.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I want to key on a couple points that you made for our audience. The first one is the platform. And it took us around, I guess, about 16 minutes before we started talking platform. And the reason is it's really important. But I think we need to generalize it a little bit more and look at it from the perspective of the audience. Schneider is going to be providing a platform, but I think what you're saying is this platform, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think this platform could be used by some of your customers to create a platform within their particular niche or within their particular industry, so that they are, in your example, potentially offering energy management as a service or business or building management as a service. But even going beyond that, I mean, that's just one type of business model, right? Is a service business model. Even beyond that, you talked about outcomes and being able to use their platform. Maybe that's based on your platform, but use their platform to bring in together all the different products that are required, using the example from Hilton, to provide that experience. And then it's not necessarily even a service, then maybe it's an outcome, it's a result that they're looking for. And I just want to differentiate, just make a couple points. The first point being, and I'm looking for your feedback on this, the first point being platforms, and it's not just a Schneider platform, it is a Schneider's customer platform. And the second point is that the business model of service is just one of the business models. Ultimately, you may want to align your business model to more rooms, how many rooms are sold, then you get paid based on how many rooms are sold, if you know what I mean. So what are your views on both those points?
Absolutely. So first of all, let me reiterate the fact that the most important thing that we are working on is our platform, right? And again, this whole area of, when I was at Accenture, we published our sort of Accenture technology vision in 2015, which sort of 5 trends. One of them was a platform, and we kind of talked about the fact that the whole industry is moving away from these horizontal platforms like iOS, Android, Salesforce, and so on, to more industry-specific platforms where companies like BMW and Mercedes are coming up with automotive platforms and so on. So now that I work for Schneider, I am focused on this vertical, right, in the energy management automation space, right? We want to create a platform in this industrial equipment space, right? So that this is like the platform of choice for our customers in this vertical. And I think this is a very, very big industry as we talked about, right? Because it's energy management and automation serves, as I said, sort of the buildings, sort of residential buildings, commercial buildings, critical infrastructure buildings, data centers, industries, utilities. So it's a very, very big space, right? We want to provide the leading platform in this area, right? And so that's kind of where we are driving towards in terms of this platform. Now, in a platform, there's this sort of API that is a technology to how you use sort of the different things in a platform and all the different software, right? The core sort of building blocks, right, will be provided as part of the platform. But the other very interesting thing is the data on that platform, right? So suppose I have a sensor that is just measuring the temperature of a particular room in one of the buildings, right? And that data is now available to developers, right? They can create, once I have the temperature, right? What kind of other value can I create? So I'll just give you a very simple example. You have a parking lot, right? And in that parking lot is filled or empty. Now, once you put a sensor in that parking lot, right? That 10 bit full or empty is available on a parking lot platform. Now, essentially, you can have all kinds of people creating services. When I drive into sort of the city of San Francisco, right, on a iPhone app for finding parking, essentially I created from that parking lot a value to the information. I driving from Palo Alto would be interested in knowing exactly if there is parking available on the 4th floor of the parking lot on 5th and Market, right? So that's the kind of value that I'm trying to talk about, right? You have this IoT platform, and you have all the data on this industrial space, right, in energy management and whatever, in these different areas that I'm talking about, buildings and industries and oil and gas and so on and so forth. And ultimately, using that, can I drive sort of whole top-line value? And this is a huge space. Literally, I mean, billions to trillions of dollars of value that can be created through these platforms.
Now, let me sort of just dig into the platform a little bit more so I understand. Will Schneider be selling the platform so that one of its customers can do what you're saying? For example, provide a platform for the parking structure and then create an ecosystem around that platform for parking? Or will Schneider not be selling the platform and just encouraging through APIs the use of this one omnipresent platform?
We are going through these sort of the discussions of the business models as we speak. So we don't know exactly what we are going to do, but for sure, from an R&D perspective, what my team is building is this IoT platform, and we have sort of different phases. So first of all, we are building this platform for all our Schneider businesses to use this same platform for all these connected products that we have, right? And we have literally sort of thousands of products. As I said, we will launch 360 plus new products this year itself, right? So the first thing is making sure all of Schneider's products in these different businesses that I talked about, in buildings, in industry, in energy, and in sort of IT infrastructure, right? They're all connected through this platform. So first of all, let's get it right. Let's sort of make sure our products are using this platform. Then the next step is sort of driving the whole industry towards embracing this platform and so on. So it becomes the default sort of the choice for our customers in this area, because we have a very big market share in this area, right? We are a very big player, and we will try to influence everybody to use that platform. So ultimately, this business model will evolve so that all our customers, we enable our customers to leverage our platform to create more value to their customers. The journey is moving from products and services to ultimately driving outcomes.
Right. No, and that makes sense. So I think what you're implying then is Schneider's business model also is going to change. And then let's look at it from a different way. And let's think about it from the listener's point of view. What can they take away from this? And I'm thinking from the point of view of an enterprise is about to first approach IoT. They're deciding on, how they should take advantage of the technology. And then the next thing that happens really quickly is, should they use a platform? Should they buy a platform? So just generalizing your experience and turning it the inside out or turning it the other way around for our listeners, what's the advice that you would give them when they're first approaching IoT with respect to platforms?
So the first thing I would advise is that IoT is not just a thing in the future. IoT is here and now, right? I mean, people have been talking about IoT for the last 5 years. And again, it was Accenture, I was doing this, etc. It was a vision, a dream, and so on and so forth. I am just telling your listeners that IoT is here and now. It's actually happening. People are really seeing value in terms of, as I said, faster problem resolution, improved productivity, higher levels of operational efficiency. Our customers, the 2,600 customers that we interviewed, our Schneider's customers are actually seeing it here and now, right? And therefore, we at Schneider are doing this. All our products are connected and so on and so forth. So your listeners should also see IoT is here and now. We should absolutely do it because there is some immediate value that we can see to their customer. Right? The long-term impact, right? Again, but then there are obviously challenges, right? Do you build it yourself? If you're a small company, you cannot actually do a platform yourself, and you need to rely on some of the others. Now, again, in the IT, many of the IT players are making it much easier for you, right? I mean, if you had to do this IoT stuff 5 years ago, it was quite hard. You'd have to think, I have to do a cloud, what cloud platform. Today, you have choices, right? You could do an IoT-based thing on Microsoft Azure platform, or you could do with sort of Amazon Web Services, or there are 4 or 5 such platforms from the IT community that you can use, right? So, and there's a whole bunch of sort of open source stuff that is out there. So it's relatively easy, right? So you have a product. To make it connected product, you have to essentially connect that through either sort of Zigbee, Bluetooth, whatever, Wi-Fi, 3G, 4G, etc., right? Through that wireless or wired to some kind of a communication device and upload that data to the cloud, right? So the thing is that today in the IT industry, these technologies exist, right? It's not like, in the future we'll be connected, right? We at Schneider are leveraging all the stuff from the IT industry in terms of the connectivity to the cloud, right? So there's cloud infrastructure, right? Cloud stuff, platforms that are available. So we at Schneider, our platform is leveraging one of those things. I don't want to say exactly what, but that's kind of what we are using. So the communication technology exists, how you move this data to the cloud and so on. Then in this area, people have figured out that if you have like millions and billions of products, and if you are uploading everything to the cloud, that the cloud doesn't have that kind of bandwidth. So what you need to do is you need to do some compute at the edge, right? So instead of uploading everything to the cloud, right, do a little bit of compute at the edge. And so this brings us to the concept of edge computing. Cisco calls it fog computing. It doesn't matter, fog computing, fog server, edge computing, etc. So we are doing our own sort of implementation of some computing at the edges, right? And then taking summary information, uploading that to the cloud. The reason for that is sometimes you will have very good connectivity to the cloud, other times you will not. So you use some of the things in terms of real-time requirements in many of the applications that we serve, right? In oil and gas and so on, you don't want everything to go through the whole round-trip process, right? You want to make some sort of computing and decisions that are being done at the edge, right? So my point is that these are complex things, but in this community, people have figured out how to do this. So if you are a listener on the podcast, you say, yep, it's not a thing in the future, it's here and now, how can I do this? So your listeners need to think, right? So they are in whatever business. They are in parking lot business or buildings business or driver business or whatever, I don't care what business, right? How does that product that your customer, your listener, right, you are selling to the customer, right? They have to understand the benefit of connectivity to their end customer, right? Their customer, they are driving their customers around, right? So their customers are looking for an improved transportation experience, right? Or they're looking for a better buildings experience. So they have to really understand what is the primary driving point of the customer's outcome, right? And then through the connectivity of these products, right, how can I improve that customer outcome? That's the name of the game, right? So if you're in a building, right, how can I improve my building efficiency, my workplace efficiency? So some of the products that we have done from our buildings area in terms of IoT is a person, when I walk into a building through a RFID sensor, the building will know Prith has walked in, right? And then connected through my iPhone or Android phone, I'll be able to control all kinds of things. So Prith really likes 72.4 degrees Fahrenheit temperature, right? And they provide that kind of personalized experience, right? With the 22% humidity, right? That's what Prith likes, right? So with the building management system, with the HVAC and so on, I could provide that fantastic personalized experience to the user. So this is kind of what I'm asking, right? So if I am Hilton, right, I want to drive the best possible experience in terms of air quality, temperature, moisture, humidity, and so on to get to know Prith and drive that, right? So drive all the HVAC systems to drive that proper air handling and so on, humidity to that. So that's kind of what I would challenge your listeners to. Your listeners are in some business, right? What's the business? What's the customer in that business? How through IoT, through this connectivity, I can improve the experience, improve the outcome for your customer.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And let me just sort of paraphrase, some of what you said, and correct me if I'm wrong. So the first thing that you're saying is, as advice, is don't wait. IoT is here now, and at a minimum, you need to start examining it, and probably starting doing something about it. And examining means let's start do some business planning. And then what you're saying is, in the past, you could have built your own platform, but there's a lot of platforms. And in fact, you mentioned 5 major ones that are more of our cloud-based platforms. But of course, as you know, there's hundreds actually of a variety of different types of platforms. Sometimes they're industry specific, sometimes they're more functionality specific. But I think what you're saying is the advice is, use a platform. That's not really where you should be putting your effort. Where you should be putting your effort is to try to think about your customer's outcome, the results that your customers want, and in how you can use connectivity to improve that experience for your customer. Am I getting it right so far?
You got it absolutely right. This is precisely what I was saying.
So then the next step, what I want to ask you is, okay, because I kind of preach a very similar story in the sense of, unless your core competency is plumbing or networking, then use a platform. But then the next question after that is, okay, we've got, we're starting to focus on our customer, on the outcomes, on the results that they're looking for. How does an enterprise prepare for what intellectual property do they need to develop in-house versus out of house? And I think one of them is you've identified is the platform. So the plumbing, that's out of house. But what type of intellectual property needs to be developed in-house so that you can actually realize that vision? You're going to have the vision of providing a better result for your customers through connectivity. Then you're going to be using a platform. But there's a gap, right? There's going to be a gap between there. So what's your advice for how does the enterprise get prepared to start realizing that vision with IoT?
So great question. Let me give you an example from our own business, right? So as I said, we are in the energy and automation. We are global specialists in energy management and automation, right? So the kinds of intellectual property that we are developing within Schneider is, so we have energy and sustainability professionals that go into a building, right, or multiple buildings or factories or an entire city, and they're challenged with questions like, which facilities are underperforming? Where should I deploy the energy efficiency projects that will generate the most results, right? How do I pull all of this into an IoT-driven data together and translate to the value to the owner of the building, the multiple buildings, the sites, the factories, and so on, or the entire city, the city of San Francisco, for example, right? So what Schneider Electric's energy experts, like the IP that we have, right, through all this connectivity is saying is, we connect all these multiple forms of data like energy use, utility costs, water consumption, building occupancy, etc., from multiple sites and sources, and sending all this data to this sort of this service, right? And we have within Schneider, for example, one of the things that we have, the IP is our resource advisor software, right? So using this resource advisor software, you get it's basically a dashboard, right? So our consultants, our services people go into a building manager, a facility manager, a factory manager, a city manager, so on, saying, hey, we have connected all this thing, and we are telling you your building number 152 on this site is really, really bad, right? And we can help you improve it. What can you do? We can change this, you can do this metering and so on. So it's the combination. So to drive any value, right, first of all, you need the sensors to collect the data, right? You need to show through all the dashboards and so on. So our resource advisor software does precisely this thing in the energy efficiency area. Look, another example, right? We have a business in utilities and so on and so forth, right? So in the asset availability area, we work with a customer, Duke Energy, right? So Duke Energy is one of the, we have PG&E here. Duke Energy is like the utility in the southern part, right? So they have like more than, 60 plants, 7 million customers, and they are actually a customer of our Schneider's enterprise asset performance software. So what it does, so we have a software called predictive analytics software, right? Using which Duke was able to see, hey, we have all these 60 plants, there are all kinds of stuff that is happening in terms of exhaust temperatures, combustion engines, and so on and so forth. And they found that a particular turbine was reading 50 degrees Fahrenheit higher than historic levels, right? So they were just doing this thing. They measured this. So we were able to provide, that's the IP that we have built, right? Our Prism predictive analytics on this IoT platform that we have. Now, the following weekend, the station was conducted. He said, well, let's do some boroscopy exam of the burners and so on. No issues were found. And, the Duke, our customer could have said, the manager could have said, you know what? It's a fake. Don't worry, just ignore it. But instead, our customer in Duke, they said, you know what? Maybe there's something going on. So they scheduled a maintenance, and they found, you know what? There is a problem with the combustor, the transition tube, the stationary tube, rotating blades, all of which needed service. And they did the service, but because of that, the estimated avoided cost was $500,000 just for this one particular turbine and so on, right? And overall, they found that through this sort of Prism predictive analytics, they were able to save $5 million. One customer, that's kind of value that we provide. So I just gave you two examples of how using IoT, sort of resource advisor software in the energy management space and in the Prism analytics in the asset management space, how we can provide value to our customers. Now, your listeners need to think, right, what's the equivalent of the resource advisor and the Prism analytics in their domain?
Yeah. And I think to generalize it a little bit, excuse me, a couple points that you made that I think are really important is the first one is kind of this business consulting, and the sense of, in your first example, where you go into the business and you're into the building, for example, and you understand all the processes, and it seems like a skill set that needs to be developed is almost as business consultant. I don't know what the actual term is, but instead of this one-time sale, you're going in there as a partner. And to be a partner, you need to understand your customer's business really well and consult with them. It's almost like a services consulting.
This is exactly. In fact, our Schneider, we have these for 4 businesses which are more product businesses, and then we overlay it with a global solutions business. And the vision of that is to really understand, we have the different verticals like oil and gas and mining and metals and water and so on, right? We have these different verticals, and we are essentially providing this kind of a partnership in terms of the value. And as it turns out, our IoT business is embedded within our global solutions business for precisely the reason that you talked about.
Yeah, no, and I think generalizing it, follow Schneider's lead in the sense of think about it as a services business, in the sense of trying to make your customers successful, because ultimately, if you can tie your business models, and that gets to end results and so forth, if you can tie your business models together, then everyone rises, with the tide. I think the other thing that you mentioned that's also really important was predictive maintenance, and I'll just generalize that to data science. And I think, that would be my recommendation, for a company, is that they need to, from an intellectual property point of view, and I'm going to ask you in what, how this manifests itself, but from an intellectual property point of view, they need to become a data science company to a certain extent. What are your views there? And what are the practical, I guess, implications or the practical advice that you can give companies on that?
Absolutely. So basically with IoT, one thing is, everything's getting connected, right? I mean, if you look at projections, there's going to be 50 billion connected devices. Oh, wow, it's fantastic. That's great. But the problem with all these 50 billion connected devices is that if all those devices are generating or collecting data, right, every second, every microsecond, just imagine the amount of data that we'll be collecting, right? If you think,
right.
I mean, so 10 years ago, nobody had an iPhone. Nobody were taking pictures. All we are doing with taking maybe pictures with small cameras and Kodak cameras and so on. We were not generating as much data, but now we go on vacation, we take like zillions of pictures on iPhone, uploading to the cloud. So we are just literally generating so much data that it is hard to analyze all that data, right? So the problem of data analysis is going to be more and more and more complex, right? We'll just be completely flooded, drown in the amount of data. So you talk about the fact you need to do more sort of machine learning, more analytics, and so on.
Mm.
Again, if you are your listeners in this area, they don't have to, you couldn't do some of these things in the past, but today with the advances of machine learning and data science and analytics, there's a whole bunch of sort of open source software that exists. You could literally do some very simple machine learning of the data. So essentially the machine does 90% of the stuff, and then the human goes in and tries to just add a little extra thing on top.
Right.
And that's the
Right.
value. The value is the machine doing some automated learning combined with some human learning, and that combination of the human and the machine doing fantastic things in terms of an advisory services to your customer.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And just to drill down a little bit, machine learning is often, and we've talked about this a little bit on the show, but machine learning is being used more and more for model making, developing these analytical models. And like you said, then the next step, the machine, takes the first step, and then you need a data scientist to go there and tweak that model. But really, that is going to be the core, right? We're talking about a services kind of core for a company. You talked earlier about using APIs. So I think obviously another core competency that a company needs to develop is going to be software. They're going to have to connect up with the APIs if they want to use these platforms. And then the third one being the data science. And in particular, you were bringing up the point of there's lots of open source software that you can use to get you along the way. But are you finding, data scientists seem to be in pretty high demand right now. What do you, and I don't want to, answer my own question here, but what are you seeing from your customers as being the stumbling blocks to being able to embrace IoT, to be able to work with Schneider or with their platform? Is it human resources like data science, or am I just overthinking it? What are you seeing? What are you seeing now as the stumbling blocks for companies to get engaged with if they're in your business, for example, with Schneider? What are you seeing?
So I actually think it is not really the HR. This or data science is one of the aspects, but I think cybersecurity is a very, very important.
Okay, we haven't talked about that yet.
That is something we have not talked about. I just wanted to make sure that we do cover that, right?
Yep.
When we sort of did this survey of our 2,600 customers, we asked the question, "What do you see are the challenges?" And then sort of 50% of our customers said cybersecurity, very, very important sort of challenge. Right? So it's one thing, we want everything to be connected, but then once things are connected, obviously, as you know, a cyber terrorist can do more damage through cyber attack than by throwing a nuclear bomb as such, right? So when you have a critical infrastructure, an energy, a utility, a PG&E, all the things completely connected, right? The cybersecurity aspect of it is very, very important. So that I think data science is absolutely important problem, right? But I think cybersecurity and people who are security knowledgeable is a very, very important challenge also. So within my R&D team, I have got sort of people doing analytics work. I've got sort of data science people. I've got cybersecurity people. I have IoT people. So that's why in my R&D team, I have sort of big bets, research areas in these big areas.
No, that's actually, that's an important one that usually comes up, and I'm surprised it took us that long to come up with it, cybersecurity. So that was the number one challenge. I'm just curious, do you know offhand what are the other challenges then did the people in the survey kind of identify as being stumbling blocks for them to move forward?
So that was one, but as a community, I think one of the challenges that we have to really address is how do you monetize these outcomes, right? Our customers willing to, we all talk about the business models, right? We say, This is going to be fantastic and so on, right? Our customers today in the world of sort of hard products and so on, they're used to buying a product for $1,000. They see the real value of an iPhone, right? Where they get, okay, I'm buying this phone, I'm going to pay $600 for this iPhone, right? But the transition from this iPhone to a world out there where the phone is free, I am going to pay for 10 cents for every time I make this thing. I'm accessing the information. I need to find my nearest Pizza Hut restaurant. This information is worth 15 cents to me, right? That transition, so people talk about the business model too, but to actually move the whole world towards this new business model of this outcome-based, people paying for outcomes is actually a hard thing, right? Because in the world of phones and internet and so on, we get so used to getting everything for free. I go onto Google, I get the information for free, and sort of Google has figured out, well, the way we'll do it is through ads and so on, right? Well, you can have ads for this, but in the industrial equipment IoT space, right? You couldn't have an ad, right? You do this and an ad pops up on your building management system. That is probably not the way to do it. So the challenge is, how do we monetize, right? What's the business model that will allow us to move towards this outcome-driven world? This is a really interesting challenge, and we have discussions in our executive committee every month on this topic.
No, that's actually a very good one, and I'm assuming you're having those discussions not because of your customers, well, maybe also for your customers, but because of yourself, right? You're gonna have to monetize your products. Well, you're not going to have to, but I think if you want to take full advantage of the IoT technology that you're developing, then you're going to want to monetize them in a different way. But
let me give you a very simple example, right? I mean, it's very real in California, right? So our governor has said California needs to go towards, I think, 30% or 50% renewables, right, through by the year 2050, right? So some of the solution for that will be each of us, right, you, Bruce, me, Prith, right, residential customers, we should be thinking about, we should be contributing renewables, right? So therefore, we put some solar panels on our roof, right? So today, the way that companies like SunPower or SolarCity, etc., do is they put the solar panel on top of the roof, right? But there is no storage along with that, right? So throughout the day, you have solar, etc., right? And then in the evening, I rely on PG&E to deliver the power, right? So basically, during the daytime, I get enough solar in morning, right? And I'm essentially selling that power to the to PG&E throughout the daytime. In the evening time, when I need it, I'll get power from PG&E, right? So then PG&E say, hey, this kind of a strange thing, right? I used to be able to sell power to Prith throughout the day, and now it is generating power during the daytime, right? In the future, Prith will have an energy storage, right? Will have his own battery, right? We just announced a battery system called EcoBlades, which is actually much more sort of cost-effective than some of these sort of Tesla batteries that have been.
Yeah, that's what I was going to make up.
Tesla has something, and we have just got an EcoBlade thing, which is an energy storage solution, which has a cost of below for sort of $500 per kilowatt hour. That is not the point. My point I'm saying is, at some point in the future, you will be able to get residential customers will have solar panels on top with their own energy storage system and so on. So the question is, does a customer put in the cost of, I don't know, $20,000 as a way to buy the solar panels and these things, versus these sort of very interesting business models that SolarCity is doing? You as a customer don't have to pay anything, right? You pay for it as a service, right? So some customers have made the move through SolarCity, but others are going through this. Those are the kinds, and now once it's IoT-enabled solar panels and sort of smart panels and energy storage and so on, just imagine what I could do, right? I have a solar panel and charger, whatever, right? On an iPhone app, boop, a thing pops up. Hey, do you want to buy energy from PG&E at this price, or do you want to shut down your dishwater? Just imagine, right? Through all the connectivity, I am now 24/7. I'll be able to see and respond and participate in demand response. And therefore, I said, no, I don't want to use my washer and dryer. Let me turn it off. Therefore, I say this. So I'm doing simultaneously supply and demand side management through all the 100 million homes in the U.S. Look at the possibilities. Yeah.
And like you say, what you're implying, I think, is that the innovation in business models is going to be probably as great, if not greater, than the innovation in the technology, just to try to figure this all out, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Prith. Well, that was very interesting and very useful. How can people find out more about yourself and Schneider?
So they can go to our Schneider website, www.schneider-electric.com.
Okay.
And and we have a ton of information about the products and solutions and so on. They can access my. I gave a IoT World Forum talk in Dubai in December. They can access that presentation that's available.
Okay.
And again, they can find out more information about me and the company and products and so on and so forth. So use the web.
Use the web. All right. Well, and I'll put these links in the show analysis notes. And with that, thanks a lot, Prith. It was really enjoyable.
Thank you very much, Bruce. Thank you. Bye bye.
Okay. That was a good talk with Prith Banerjee. This podcast goes vertical, deep diving into different topics each week. If you prefer a more horizontal and structured approach to learning IoT business and its orbiting technologies, check out my book IoT Inc., published by McGraw-Hill, or become a certified IoT professional by completing the ICIP training and certification program. For details, just go to www.iot-inc.com. Also go to www.iot-inc.com for an analysis of this episode, links to things that were mentioned during the episode, and very importantly, the episode's PDF transcript. Just search for the name of the episode or the guest. If you're new to this podcast, subscribe. That way you'll get every week's episode delivered straight to your device. Or, if you've been listening for a while, there are 3 ways you can support the show. You can leave a rating or a review on iTunes. Just go to iot-inc.com/iTunes. It only takes 1 click to leave a rating, a little bit longer to leave a review. You can share it on social. I'm on LinkedIn, to a lesser extent on Twitter. And of course, you can support this show by buying my book, IoT Inc., or the ICIP training and certification program. It's how I pay the bills. Next week's episode is New Business Models in Consumer IoT Are Still Solidifying, with Nate Williams of August Home. I hope you can join me then. I'm your host, Bruce Sinclair. Thank you for listening. Till next week, may your path to IoT business be a step-by-step one.
You have been listening to the IoT Inc. Business Show.